Hey, fun times in Tesla. And welcome to Grandpa Sees the Blinking. Please don't take anything Grandpa says as financial advice. Grandpa is not a financial planner, and if you would, please like, share, and subscribe. Back down here at 367.20, Grandpa called that out as the top pivot point, and we managed to go all the way to 302.70. $65 drop, and we're going to have a top pivot point up here somewhere, and Grandpa's going to know most likely where it is, real close. And that's hugely important. Pay attention. Listen to some of my previous live streams. Might give you a little bit of confidence. Grandpa gets pretty crazy, but periodically I do a live stream where I tell you something that Grandpa sees or knows, whether it's with the blinking or whatnot. And so, uh, all that being said, fair forecast for the fair opening price for is 454.12. $454.12 for 12/17/24 Tuesday. Now, we had a closing price on Friday the 13th of 436.23. And at 4:15 in my live stream on Friday, Grandpa forecast a gap up to 445. Okay, uh, $10 above, way above. Well, anyway, for Monday, all while the fair opening price was only 429.41, and I I'm telling you, very often, Grandpa knows whether we're gapping up or gapping down. That's just one. I see it with my fair opening price pivot points and my other pivot points, and also with my blinking. So, fair opening price for Monday was uh, 429.41, and Grandpa called out an opening of 445. Uh, that's over $15 above our fair opening price. Grandpa's right a high percentage of the time, probably close to 90% on the fair opening price. But knowing where it's really going to open is huge for any trader, whether you're a cash account or a margin account. Usually by about 4:15 Eastern time, I know this information. But probably more important is knowing where the real top pivot is going to be in Tesla. Where is that top pivot point going to be this time? And there's several ways that Grandpa calculates this turning point. The blinking very often will let me know well in advance about a $50 to $100 pullback retracement, a huge one. 50 to $100. Like I say, the last time we got $65. And if you are interested in having this info texted to you between 4:05 p.m. and 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time daily, I would encourage you to email Grandpa at icblinking123@gmail.com, knowing when we have reached our top pivot point in advance. Plus, where we may gap up and or down is just huge. I'll tell you that the cost is well under $2 per day for this information, Grandpa's forecast and opinion. And I'm looking forward to sharing Grandpa's forecast and opinion. So now let's get on with what happened today, and you can think about this. Okay, so like I say, the fair opening price today was $429.41, and Grandpa on Friday said we were going to open around $445, and by George, we did. We had a high today of $463.19 during the regular hours, and currently we have a high after hours of $471.77. We have a low of $436.15 for today, and we closed at $463.02. The indexes were up a fair amount. Tesla outperformed crazily. Volume was up today on higher prices, 23 million more than Friday. Shares were bought and sold for a total of 109 million approximately bought and sold, and Grandpa considers this bullish. Dominant trend is up. Pivot point. Okay, so let's talk about pivot point a little bit. 302.70 is currently our last bottom pivot point, and we're up. Our top pivot point is previous top pivot point is 367.20, and we're up well over $120 above that currently. So you can figure it out, 367 to 471.77. Now usually between pivot points in the past, $50 would be considered to $60 a common movement between pivot points. But you'll find out that as the stock gets higher and higher, we'll see bigger and bigger movements, both up and down when it happens. Because once we make the top pivot point, this thing will do nothing but zigzag downward until it creates a new bottom pivot point. Sometimes it can only be as little as $30, sometimes 50, quite often 50. To be honest, 60, 65 like last time. It can be well over 100. It can do a pivot point down the same amount that it's going up, so it can do, $120 to $150 on a pivot point. But knowing where that pivot point is just huge. You gotta understand this. And I'm willing to share my opinion. I'll text it to you so you get it in advance. Getting that information by 4:15 in a text, where this thing very, very likely is going to really open, not what's fair. I calculate what's fair, okay, and I'm willing to show that to you all day long. But where it's going to really open is what you need to know, and I'm willing to share that for you for less than $2 a day. So email Grandpa. Okay, enough about that. Upside resistance. Well, truthfully, we don't have any resistance going up. We never been here before. There is absolutely no resistance. Tesla's oversold, and that don't mean beans either. This thing can go to $700, $900 oversold, and just keep right on trucking. So that's. But the reason it's important is traders see when it gets to a certain point oversold, and we ain't there yet. I can tell you that. This thing can be oversold big time before it finally snaps. So I'll give you some upside resistant points that Grandpa thinks are possibly relevant. $500 simply because it's an even number, like 400, like 200. And some of the analysts are saying we're going to top out around 502, 503 area. Grandpa, however, figures, and I do not know this for sure yet, but I most likely will know when we get close enough to it and I get the signals. That's the whole thing. And I should know at least a day in advance, and to let you know this is the top. You might be selling your shares after hours to get out at that point, but at least you'll have the opportunity to do it. Is Grandpa going to always be right 100% of the time? I'm afraid not. But I'll tell you what, I think you'll find that I'll be right quite often. Okay, so $500, then 507 to 509 is potentially a place that we could see a top pivot point. And I've been talking about that for over 2 weeks. But getting phone calls here. It isn't written in stone, okay? Until I see it in the blinking, and or with my pivot points, where we're going to actually turn, I'm not going to know. I can until then. I can forecast what I think. I can give my opinion. But if I'm going to get very, very certain about it, I want to see it in my blinking, and I want to see it with my pivot points. And then Grandpa can give you the forecast. So currently for tomorrow, we have fair opening price of 454.12. That's what it should do fairly, okay? However, based on what I'm seeing currently, and what I would text to you if I was texting you in advance, is that I believe that we're going to fairly open around 463.90 on Tuesday. Not 454.12, but 463.90, which is about $7 less than where we're at now. So Grandpa's thinking we're going to gap down and open in the first half hour of trading tomorrow. You're going to probably see that 463.90 area, and I would suggest that you buy some shares there, because I have no indication of a top in this stock yet. And that's what you really want to know. You want to know where this stock is going to pivot at, because that's where you want to sell. That's where you want to get out of your shares. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And until then, this thing's just going to run. But Grandpa will see it, and Grandpa will let you know. check out, like I say, email Grandpa, icblinking123@gmail.com, and you can know too. But yeah, I'll give it to you for tomorrow. Tomorrow, Grandpa's forecast for the opening price is $463.90. If you listen to my previous live streams, you'll find out that Grandpa calls out the top pivot points and the bottom pivot points consistently. And not to mention knowing if you're going to gap up and or down, hoping for a fair opening price to come to you. Very often I know if it's going to be correct or not, and I'm willing to tell you that, okay? But going out on a limb and telling you that it's going to gap up, gap down, you need Grandpa to give you a text. Then you know too. At least you'll know Grandpa's true opinion, and I think Grandpa's pretty accurate at that. Okay, so all that being said, we're going to see how this all works. Think about eternity once in a while, and if you guys want to call in on a live stream and sing with Grandpa, I'm going to do a live stream here shortly, and we got some young guys and gals that want to come and sing the Don't Blame Grandpa song. So we're going to do the Don't Blame Grandpa song, and hopefully Elon will come through with 100 shares for he's going to pick the winner, of course. We're going to let him pick who did the best singing in Elon's opinion, and we'll see how many shares. Maybe he might want to give 100 shares. Maybe he may want to give 1,000 shares. Grandpa don't know that yet, but I'm pretty confident that Elon's gonna really enjoy having fun with Grandpa and the young people that are coming and singing. So don't blame Grandpa. And I'll tell you what, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Don't blame Grandpa. We know $1,000, 1,000 is coming, 10,000. Everybody's talking about 10,000 in your near future. But Grandpa's talking 100,000. And so I'll say it again. If you sell your Tesla shares for 50,000, when it gets to 50,000 and you sell your shares in Tesla, don't blame Grandpa. If a year later it's 100,000 a share, don't blame Grandpa. Don't blame Grandpa. Don't blame Grandpa. If you sell your Tesla shares, don't blame Grandpa. If you sell your Tesla shares. Okay, think about eternity once in a while. School shooting over in Madison, Wisconsin. 3 dead and possibly more going to be very critically injured. Pray for those people and those families. And they're thinking about eternity. So is Grandpa. I'll come back in about an hour and we're going to do some singing. See you then. Bye-bye.